against the Astros.
Good evening, everyone. I will call to order our listening session of the Bloomington City Council, 5:45 on Monday. What is today?
17th.
April 17th. Thanks everybody for being here. We didn't have anybody pre-registered. I see some familiar faces.
You might have been late for the, you might have been late for the cutoff.
No, you're good.
No, you're good. Oh, you're good. You come on up. You just, we usually have a pre-registration, but just so I know who's going to be here and we can prep for you a little bit if need be, but I'm guessing I can figure out what you're going to talk about. Why don't you just come forward and we'll get this started.
Tim Vlasolovich.
Dan Hurry.
And as I sign in, Mayor and Council, we just wanted to continue the discussion last time around on just putting forth a recommendation, handing out, putting it forth, maybe slightly different in terms of percentage to cover some density. Councilmember D'Alessandro that we sent, but directionally, Dan is kind of the expert, so he speaks more intelligently than I, so he's going to help kind of run through, but just wanted to have a copy for everyone here.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Record, I did forward to Jamie the information that you all had provided to me over the weekend.
Okay.
Cool.
Has that information.
Very good.
Well, it sounds like what you're saying is a minor modification to that, not a major departure from what we had.
Correct.
voted on. Okay.
I didn't want to have you think I got you. I just wanted to
No,
call
no,
it out
yeah.
ahead of time.
No worries at all.
Very good. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so basically, we just took in our last proposal at the 20th meeting, talked about an overlay district and understand obviously the complexity behind that for the city and difficulty in regulating that. So we've focused on creating a residential environmental preservation district and thought, our neighborhood could basically be a pilot neighborhood for it, with other neighborhoods, if they want to participate, going through the traditional city process of redistricting. Or you guys had other thoughts on how anybody else would ever do that? Obviously, that's your call. So basically the gist of it is we're focusing on tree preservation standards. So the current limit of significant trees that can be removed without reforestation is 50%. I don't know. I mean, our neighborhood has a heavy tree canopy cover. So, we're proposing a 30% reduction to 30%. So that would help protect the current tree canopy during development. We put together some language on creating fencing requirements to help the passage of wildlife around the neighborhood and throughout the city. And then retained the impervious surface coverage at 35%. So, I think I had sent out in some emails, I drove the city, drove the Bluff districts, 9 Mile Creek, over the last few weekends, and tried to, look for neighborhoods that kind of shared similar characteristics. And we worked to put something together that would work for the entire city in small pockets. So we'll go through specific neighborhoods later, but then in terms of median site width, we would like to keep that at 65%. We think that's a good balance between allowing density in the neighborhoods and preserving existing homes. And then lastly, proposed a 22,000 square foot lot minimum. So that's a similar reduction from the RS1 lot minimum of 33,000 square feet. So if you took, the 11,000 square feet for R1, reduce that to 7,800, use the same proportion, and you get actually 23,400. But we reduced it further to 22,000 just out of simplicity, based on the math that the planning department has, or based on the maps that the planning department's put together already. So, we kind of view it as like a R1, like the R1 neighborhood or R1 district, but with some environmentally focused tweaks. So I don't know, does everybody have any questions on that?
Also questions?
I have one question. It's not for you guys. It's based on our conversation.
Yeah.
The other day. I would just like to understand the impervious surface and runoff and water, because I know new developments have a ton of requirements in terms of water management. And one of the concerns that was raised is, are those developments that were older in a position to handle that type of runoff and water management? And thought it was a fair question that was asked.
Thank you, Councilman.
Like I said, new ones have retention ponds and infill and outfill or whatever the quantity and that, so that they can, want to make sure that the neighborhood can handle it. They had concerns about that. I don't know if it can or it
Yep.
can't. Maybe it is able to based on engineering. But that would be one point that I want to know in terms of what we look at. That's a fair point.
Yep.
Right or wrong about the zoning, it's there.
Yeah.
And we don't want to cause more problems by creating more impervious surface. And so I think that's what you guys are focused on is,
That's-
hey, we've got these types of things. Let's make sure we don't cause other problems because just because it was developed previously. So.
Okay.
You understand.
No, I do.
Here.
I do. Yep.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think the proposal, if I can,
Please.
Mr. Mayor, is 35% unless you have a lot under 11,000 and then you can go to 45% with certain like balances or whatever. Based on what we know about this particular area, I doubt that would ever go above the 35% threshold. But it doesn't look like doesn't look like you're suggesting less than that.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And I think the concern that was raised with me is there's already water issues
Yes,
there.
yes.
To be fair, there's already water issues in other places within the city, the entire city. I mean, obviously did a lot up by American and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but and so just making sure we have capacity there because, some things, it may make sense to put this in place once our road changes, improvements to the stormwater sewer system or something like that, if there are concerns about that. But I think we need our engineers to figure that stuff out and give us an opinion, and I appreciate the opinions we've got from other staff. Does that make sense to you?
No, I think that makes sense.
And Councilmember Nelson, the other thing I think just an impervious surface is just the ability to develop more space, right? To create bigger homes or, basically I would say tear down more trees, right? Redevelop the existing natural environment. So being that at 35%, in my mind at least, maybe I'm totally off base, but serves a dual purpose. So.
Yeah. No, I think all of that's in there. Is the area capable of handling that level of development? Because as we've talked about before, I think there are a lot of market limitations on what will actually happen. I don't think it's marketable to tear down a $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 house just to get another one in most scenarios. Some, maybe, but in most, no. Yeah, even if you had that, the way you'd have to configure the lots to get the other house isn't going to make sense. And as you guys know, there's been splitting of lots in the neighborhood before. There's been splitting of lots in other neighborhoods before. And I think from my perspective, I want to see the opportunity to develop unique products that we don't have currently. Products that seniors can afford, live in, main level living, level housing, those types of things. I'm not gonna say we're gonna create a tremendous amount with this change, but at least it provides the opportunity because we know we're not creating it with the rules we have. And so I'd like to see those opportunities respectful of water and things of that nature.
So
Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, my understanding from conversations I've had with city staff already is that, creating some kind of an overlay district is a longer term ask. It's not something that, just out of thin air happens. The question I think that's on the table, at least in my mind, which, is, for your all's consideration is, assuming that we could all agree that that's something we want to look at. And of course, it's not limited to the Norman Ridge neighborhood. It's actually something I think that is valuable citywide, considering climate crisis and all of those kinds of things. That we look at whether or not we need to create places where we know there are pockets of environmental value according to our own analysis on habitat corridors and wetland preservation planning and the money we're trying to get for 9 Mile Creek, et cetera, right? That we could look at that, but that won't necessarily be something that happens by the time this May thing rolls around, right? And so the next question becomes, well, what is the short-term or stopgap measure? If we all agreed that that was something we wanted to do, what would be the short-term compromises we could come to that would not put those areas in jeopardy prior to us having that analysis completed?
Mhm.
That's where my head's at.
Mhm.
And I don't know if anybody has any perspective at this time, but I think that that's the open, at least in my head, the open questions at the moment.
If I may. I think it'd be helpful, even just high level bullet points when this is next back before us. I know, for example, my lot, I can't build on 85% of it because of watershed management and protection standards. And a lot of the properties that have been highlighted in presentations from staff already, that's what it applies to. So I'd be curious, especially at our next conversation, if we want to tee up a bigger thing about an overlay district, how much of what would be contained in that is already contained in the many layers that we do from various jurisdictions? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
How much are we duplicating just to duplicate?
Yeah,
That'd be helpful.
yeah.
If I might say something, I'm a bit hesitant to create overlay districts, just given my knowledge of new development standards. These things are usually in there in standards, and I just want to see if our existing developments meet those standards, for watershed. And I'm not entirely sure we need a whole new overlay to deal with that. I think it's appropriate to find some way to just deal with in the neighborhood, support the water runoff and that sort of thing. Is the storm sewer system have adequate capacity? Is there a retention pond? That type of things. Because those are normal features of new development now.
Mhm.
And so, I guess my basic point, make it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
And address the issue, It's like,
Yep.
could we just,
I may.
And we're past time, and I know we don't have anybody else here, but I want to make sure that we at least show a.
Sure.
a-
I want to make sure you understand this.
Yes, and
I don't want to pass time, but also I think we're creeping a little bit.
Yep, I was gonna say that as well.
And,
Yep. So-
having too much of a substance.
what we might want to do is, okay, we have a proposal, we have the idea. What I think the appropriate thing to do would be to bring it up at council policy and issue update. And if we get enough nodding heads that we want to consider this and continue moving, direct staff perhaps to flesh this out a little bit more, continue that conversation, that would be the more appropriate place to do it rather than in a listening session here. Fair?
Mayor Busi, if I may, I've got one more quick thing we want to pass around, something we just kind
Oh,
of
you're-
thought about today.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Please.
This looks to me like a zoning district, a new
Yes,
district, not an overlay.
correct.
That's what they're proposing.
Okay,
That's correct. That's the purpose.
okay.
Zoning
That was my
district.
question. Thank you. That was the only question I had.
Oh, thank you for the clarifying question. Sorry for the confusion.
So there were a lot,
Seconds on this.
30 seconds. So there is a lot of questions about math last city council meeting. And just as I was putting together the basic math of this, I mean, I thought about this today, like, if developers are looking at building, taking houses that are below, let's say, $500,000 in value as lots to redevelop, if they're doing that in neighborhoods such as Norman Ridge, you're basically taking out the entry point for the neighborhood and you're creating an enclave by eliminating houses under $500,000. So, I mean, the math is pretty straightforward. Got it all written out here for everybody. I think everybody already knows all this stuff, but it's a dynamic that I didn't even consider until today that, the ordinance as it's written today, as it would affect neighborhoods such as Norman Ridge, would actually create an enclave, which I know is what people want to avoid. So
Yeah.
just wanted to mention that.
Good. Quick one.
Where's the math coming from in terms of the lot cost and the build cost?
Sure. So as a quick point of reference, so what we've been guided by developers is that they want to spend less than $500,000 on a house if they're going to split it. So you take a $500,000 house or a $400,000 house, split it in two, divide that number by two, pretty straightforward. And then the $400,000 build is a number, I think the HRA build cost for the project on Penn was around $400,000. So that's where I got that number from.
Okay, so just the reason I asked that is a $400,000 bill at current cost is less than 2,000 square foot house. It's a Rambler,
Right.
that's what you're gonna get, and no one's gonna build that in that neighborhood. I can not assure you, because people do crazy things.
I think that was the point here, right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna get much house for that number.
No, you're gonna get a very small house. The reality is, if you take your lot cost, typically take your lot cost times 5, and that's the house that a developer is gonna build. So you're looking at a 1.2 to $1.5 million house in your neighborhood that would be built there. But that's just my knowledge of that market. You're not gonna, no one's gonna be able to build that house for 400,000.
Right.
And that's the only reason I ask. I mean, you raised a lot of
think-
very good points and
Point.
Yeah, you didn't even have to.
They're making it.
Thank you. Once again, for the,
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Council. I appreciate the extra time.
and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I'm just telling
No.
what it is.
council, no one else here to speak for our listening session. I look for a motion to adjourn. In a second, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. We'll see you downstairs.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.